Hello friends, welcome. We're painting a skeleton. But we'll start another skeleton from scratch so that you can see how we paint a skeleton like this. Yeah, I'm a pro now, mate. Who knew all it took for me to get back into painting and streaming and having a good time with my hobby was having a dedicated space to do it. Who knew? Alright, so let's talk diorama with skeleton painting. Which is exciting. Skeleton and or zombie painting. But let's do this guy. Let's have a crack at this guy. This is also a skeleton / zombie guy. And I'll give you the rough steps to get to this point. I sprayed white, and then I sprayed bright orange, and then I put on red oxide and just blobbed it on. And that's all I did. So now, I'm just going to create some metal tones by popping this, which is German grey, into me thing, and that's focus is having a little struggle a bit. It's fine. Now this guy, the angle of this guy is such that this is his viewing angle, like this. He's climbing up the stairs. So we need to make sure that this is the perspective that we focus on. These are great. These have been great fun to paint, to do this sort of dirty metal style, and yeah, it's just a really enjoyable process painting this kind of stuff. And that's basically the end of the paint job. Cheers. No, not so much. Cool if it was. It actually doesn't look terrible doing that though. No, let's hair dry that. Hello. We're in here, are we, Ellie? We'll learn to paint. Good one. And then I just start going into a little bit of morning sky from Kimera's paint range. Alright, so this still probably needs to dry a little bit, so let's see how we can do down here. So what I try to do when I'm thinking about this stuff... Hello, time stop. Yeah, what I'm trying to do when I'm putting these highlights down is thinking about where the metal would rub on its edge and where the light source is most likely to still reflect. And basically put some blue there, or whatever this colour is. Whose is this? Is this yours? Did you do an unenjoyable painting process? Yeah. Look at you go, Cragzog. Look at you go. The world is your oyster, mate. I can show you the world. Shining, shimmering, splendid. Tell me, Cragzog, now when did you last let your heart decide? I can open your eyes, take you wonder by wonder, soaring over and under on a purple minotaur guy. It's Cragzog's. If you can hear this absolute pest of a dog licking like crazy, I apologise. If you can't, well, she's an idiot. Ellie, hey, leave that. Hey, leave that. Leave it. Good girl. No, leave it. That is a good question, Time Stop. Ellie. Oh, she's just licking her thing. She's had an operation, so. Now, every layer, successive layer that I do after this, I'll probably add more sections and it'll create more depth and variation, and then I'll airbrush it and lose everything. No, I've I do airbrush a little bit, but it hopefully doesn't lose everything. G'day, Mick back. Welcome, buddy. Hope you're doing well, mate. Indeed, young Nathan. I don't really remember at what point in my life I started seeing other people as younger than me. But I feel like I've been seeing people as younger than me for a long time. I feel like this will be a really interesting paint job for people to observe. I've done 2 of them now, so I feel pretty confident that it's going to work, but I always struggle with the concept of rusty, non-metallic metal. It really confused the fuck out of me. It's like, how can you do it? It's just not possible, you know? And every time I've tried to, I've proved myself right that it was impossible, but we get closer and closer each time. Well, I actually think, and this is again me just crutching hard, I actually think that Dirty Down has a really positive impact on that, you know? Like, it does a really good job of just replicating that stained water tide effect that you get, you know? So that's kind of what we're looking at in the end result. Hopefully. No, we will. That's what will happen. So I don't want to jump the gun. I don't want to start calling from the fences, crowing from the rooftops. But Diorama is feeling good. We painted the ghost last night. I did some sculpting on one of the models that needed some gaps filling and a few little elements ready for him to be primed. I've primed these 4 skeletons. I'm doing them. So when I get the next guy I'm going to paint is going to be the ogre. That will literally leave 3 mounted models left to paint. So I did some grass on our church, which I have got here ready to show everyone. The church. So yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like we're I'm feeling like we're starting to find some rhythm. We're doing the cool runnings. Feel the rhythm. Feel the ride. Come on, Deno. It's diorama time. Cool runnings. Yeah, so the base on the church, I did a lot of work on the grass, and we're starting to reach a little bit more, starting to look a little bit more like what I wanted it to look like in my head. So that's exciting. But I'm going to need to continue to add grass to that base, create natural variation. Yeah, verdigris is a tricky one. I think the natural inclination on verdigris is to just use a wash, because if you think about how verdigris works in nature, in real life, it is literally where moisture gathers and creates rust and texture. So if you just let a liquidized version of it do its thing, g'day Faro Roach, then you get a pretty good simulation of it. But that doesn't tend to work perfectly because you have generally verdigris in areas where you don't want it. Haha, Yon, hello. Enjoy 5 a.m. Who's up at 5 a.m.? That's loose. You're welcome, mate. Yes. I've moved into a new house, and the first thing I thought was I've got to set up that wet palette. Got to make sure people can see it. I did my first stream without it, and I immediately thought I've really got to fix that. Now, I have for a very long time crutched hard on the non-metallic metal set from Kimera. It is just so good. And again, I'm crutching on it here, but I started incorporating different colours into this set, and one of those different colours comes in next at this stage. And I'm pretty excited about it actually, because I think it gives my rusty metal a really interesting effect. You'll have to wait and see what it is. So yeah, let's not count any chickens, but I am feeling heavily inspired to paint and crack this diorama off. See if I can convince some crazy collector to buy it. Hello, Solid Snake. Hello, Alexi. How are you? And if not, I've got room on a display shelf in my new games room. Well, we'll see. I would love for that to be the case, but I've I've been very fortunate that the curators at the vault enjoy these crazy things that I do. I'm sure there will come a time where that is no longer the case, and that's absolutely a-okay, because it's not me doing these to sell them, to make money. I'm not doing that. I'm doing this because I love it, because I like making crazy things. Said it a couple of times, but it's just like little Deno would be so thrilled to see these cool things that adult Deno's making. You would just think that's the bee's knees. So that's the motivation. That's why we do it. But we've just been fortunate enough to sell a couple along the way. So if that happens again, that would be wonderful, and I would feel extremely humbled and fortunate for that to be the case. But if it's not, that's wonderful and a-okay. Alright, this is our angle, so that's all looking good. Maybe here. I'm open to discussing that, Nathan. Sorry, I'm open to discussing that, Seamus. Yeah, the Baba Yaga conversation last week was a bit of a crazy one, really. I couldn't stop thinking about it, and in the end, I did sell it. Yeah, it was not planned, not anticipated, but it was an offer you can't refuse, and so I didn't refuse. There was a lot of guilt associated with it too. I felt really. It was really difficult. It was a really difficult situation. I actually slept on it. I thought about it. Woke up the next day and said, "Yep, the right thing to do is sell it and feel good about my decision." So no regrets, hashtag. Hashtag some regrets. No, I feel good. Yeah, I hope so. I hope the person who picked it up decides to paint it. That would be lovely. Yes, the other option was paint and sell. The problem is, if I paint that, I reckon it minimum halves its value. Minimum. Probably more than likely gets less again than that. If they manage to sell it for double what I sold it, I say good luck to them. Good luck to them. Hello, Grogu. I'm doing well today, and I am painting an undead skeleton for a big diorama that I'm working on. I did the three witches, and I was thrilled that I did those. But I never reached a point with Baba Yaga where I was like, I feel ready to paint this, and I feel like I'm capable of my vision being realised. And so it just kept sitting there. Yep. Don't get me wrong, I think it's incredible. I think it's an incredible piece of sculpture, and I've said many times that one of the only times I was tongue-tied in my life was when I met Lucas Pina. So, yeah, it being the first, made it eminently desirable. G'day, Timbo. How are you, mate? Good for you. Some days it feels tougher than others, doesn't it? So yeah, I'll let you in on my special secret colour that I've been using to highlight this metal. And it's super weird. I'm going to find it first. Where the fuck is it? Basic skin tone from Vallejo. Thank you, mate. I hope all is well with you also. I'm looking forward to spending some time together in a few short months. It is a good colour. And when I add it to this mixture of hodgepodge greys and browns, it gives a really warm highlight, which works extremely well. So I really like this this technique, this concept. I think it works. This rusted metal look, vibe, and it's been surprisingly easy to do. I'm going to use a quote that I love that has very little relevance to miniature painting, and yet I somehow find a way to make it work. Because it's by the great Shane Warne, and it's about spin bowling. And he was quoted as saying on many occasions that a leg spin bowler's greatest attribute or greatest ability for taking wickets comes from natural variation. Natural variation was what he said was allowed him to take 700 test wickets. And I kind of feel like when it comes to miniature painting, washing and wet blending and other techniques of that nature add natural variation into our toolkit. And it's actually something that we don't use enough. Just let the paint tell you what it wants. So, we got a dog last week, Ellie. She's settling in well. She's a very gentle soul. We saw some playfulness come out today, which is good. She's a rescue, so I think she's still adjusting and alright, now we mix that grey, which is iron hue. I'm going to mix it with some basic skin tone, and that is going to create our highlight colour. Which to me is crazy. So again, just trying to remember viewing angle. This is kind of like our viewing angle here. So that's kind of why I've fixated on Ron Hugh to take you, biggest stickers, to be my lawfully wedded husband. That's the plan, Alexi. That is the plan. The interesting thing about that whole situation is I've been sitting here thinking to myself, oh my god, I've got so much to go. This diorama is going to take forever. And now that I'm looking at what I've achieved, I've probably got 2 weeks. I reckon I've got 2 weeks of work. That may be a ambitious estimate, but I've smashed out a lot of stuff in the last couple of days. I mean, we've done the ghost, we've done like 4 skeletons. Everything still needs to be tweaked and refined once we put it all on the base, and the base still has a lot of stuff to go, but I was thinking that the base was going to be a real challenge because I didn't have enough basing implements. And in actuality, Mossy's Moss has come through with the goods. I've got a gigantic box of basing stuff. Is that soon? Yeah, it must be if you've only got 12 to 14 painting days. In my head I was thinking it was July. So unless you're going on a holiday, it must be June. Ah, okay. So I was right. It's not unusual. It's not unusual to have fun with anyone. How expensive are flights, Doms? Mossy and I are talking about it now, and it's probably just going to be Big Dog Deno flying solo, because she wants to stay home and dote on her new favourite, which is the dog. So I'm now the second-class citizen. The dog's the new favourite. But I was tossing up driving. If I was going with her, we probably would have driven, but given that I'm going myself, I'll have to fly. I wouldn't have to, but I think it'll be the most logical decision. Wow, what a trip that'll be. Yeah, I've done some incredible trips to Europe that were sort of holidays wrapped around events of some description, and they've just been some of the best memories of my life. Alexi, if I by accident say to you to turn my airbrush on, I'm very sorry about that. But one of the cool things I've been doing in my new studio is setting up home automations. And to turn my airbrush on now, I have to ask Alexa, "Hey Alexa, airbrush on." That's good stuff. Hey Alexa, airbrush off. It seems silly, right? But I'll explain my justification, because I do have a logical reason. I've moved the airbrush down underneath the table because I've had it in the way for a long time, and I figured that I could put it under the desk and it'd work beautifully, but I couldn't actually put it under the desk in a way that I could easily access the on switch on this particular compressor and also access the pressure thing. And so I figured that the The pressure thing would be something I adjusted less frequently than the on-off switch, and I was like, yeah, I'll just do that. But then I thought, maybe there's a better way. Maybe I can just use home automation. And I have. And it's surprisingly convenient. I thought it was going to annoy me more than it did. But I can actually just set it up and be like, okay, I know I'm about to airbrush, so I'll just ask for it to be turned on. And bang, we're ready to go. It's pretty awesome. Completely ridiculous. But I'm happy about it. Alright, last bit is a straight basic skin tone. And then we airbrush to do a little bit of harmonising. Yeah, I want to get a robot vacuum. Mossy's against it. For a while, I had my lights in here turn on automatically when I walked into the room. And it was great. I ended up turning it off because I had to fuck around to actually turn them off. Like I'd have to close the door and then shout out. So now I just use a voice command to turn my lights on, including my cabinet light for all my models. Hey Alexa, let there be light. Oh, it's good. It's good. Hey Alexa, no more light.
According to fandom, the lightest normal type Pokemon by weight is Igglybuff, and Igglybuff weighs 1 kilogram.
I forgot I changed the command phrase. Hey Alexa, lights off. Someone just Discorded me. Yes! That's so good. Hello, No Mana Man. That's so good. Hey Alexa, lights off. Thank you. Yeah, I'm digging it. I would go crazy on it. I think Mossy is maybe a voice of reason here. Because I was just like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna go out and buy 10 sensors to put around the house so that whenever we walk into a room the lights automatically come on. And she's just like, that's a very poor use of your finances. I said, yeah, but how cool is it? And then I'll get a smart lock so we can turn the lock on from when we're away. We'll see. I'll wear her down. All good, Moss? Hey, Ellie. Oh, bye, Ellie. Hello, Zound Mells. Hey. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Like, I love it. Ellie, do you want to say hello to everyone? Hey. Come here. You're a big girl. Oh. You're a big girl. Oh. You're okay. Oh, good work. Yeah. Hey, sweetie. Loves a pat. Stands there and will look at you for pats, and if you don't, the hand will go straight on you, like that, and say, I want a pat. She is a... we think she is... What is she, Moss? Maremma cross what? Golden Retriever. But she's a little baby, so she might not be any of those things. She might be neither of those. We don't know. She's an angel, is she? Alright. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what she turns out. She's about 3. She's a rescue dog. Yeah. She's just a rat bag. Alright, we're going to airbrush this in a second and it's going to make all of it look good. See you, Ellie. Bye. She's a very gentle dog. She's very, very gentle. She just wants to be near Mossy. She just wants to have a little bit of attention. She's very happy. It's a very nice for a. She's not a big dog. No, Zian Melts. This is a skeleton from a diorama that I'm creating. I'll show you an example of the sort of dioramas I do. This is basically what I do on this stream, along with all sorts of other things, but this is one of the things I love. So this one's going to be a part of a big diorama like that. Eventually. I did, yes, I did all that. That was a few years ago. Most of that was done on stream. And then I also did this one. I could show you about 5 of these. Thank you. Yeah, good fun. Hey Alexa, airbrush on. I don't know, this is very appealing to me. Having that work as well as it does. It's surprising, I think. Alright, so the airbrush will kind of smooth out some of the roughness. I might zoom out a bit so you can see. I didn't sculpt the models. I created the terrain though. In most cases I created all of the scenery. I just painted the models. One day maybe. Alright, Zound, you got it. So this has a really positive effect for me when it comes to making this feel like metal. It just adds that glint, that spark that you get. But I feel like you still get some of that texture underneath. Which is why I don't worry too much about making everything super smooth. Did you? I did too. But don't worry, it'll come back. If it were up to me, I would just have like super smooth textures. Super smooth textures, that's a oxymoron. Super sick textures all over. Hey Alexa, airbrush off.
Did you mean cabinet light?
No, I meant airbrush, Alexa. Hey Alexa, airbrush off. Silly Alexa. Where's my heavy brush? Yeah, I had a feeling it might. Which one do you want, buddy? Do you want Neon Knights or Camelot? Or Hyperborea? I'm glad. You know, Craig, I'm sure I've said this before, but every time this gets played, I have no idea what this song sounds like because it doesn't play it from here. So if you ever see me bopping my head along, it's just me imagining what it sounds like. And all I think that it sounds like is the song from Blade at the start of Blade. You know that song? That one. Ah, well. If I can't have you, I don't want nobody, baby. Yeah, that is a great song. Haha, thanks, buddy. No, we have a bit of fun, but sometimes I just get very focused on painting and don't do a good job of talking to people that are here on the stream. I just get focused on painting cool toys. What a banger. So you may be asking yourself, Deno, why spend all that time fucking around with stuff when you're just gonna smush this shit on it? Wouldn't you have been better off just doing this at the start? I'm not sure. Probably. Probably true. Enjoy. Thank you, Alexi. Good luck with your project. What did I used to do before Dirty Down? That's just a crazy question. Bandy, mate, don't stand for that shit. This is not a toy. I am here with you. And though we're far apart, you're always in my heart. This is not a toy. Good night to you, Doms. So you see, all of that preliminary work and I do think you still feel it underneath everything that's happening. Feels like it all works together. Feel free to disagree if you disagree. I support your right to say and feel however you wish. Even if it's wrong. That's cool. That's such a cool rust. That dirty down. I added some orange to some of the other ones. I don't know if it improved it or not. So let's talk about the story of this diorama, because it's been a little while since I've had it at the forefront of my mind. But we've got a church at the top, and I'll show off the church in a second. And that church is being protected by 4 brave guardians. And those brave guardians are radiating light and that's exactly right. And coming up from the depths below is all manner of foul, undead, evil creatures looking to destroy the church and all that is holy. It's an exciting tale as old as time. But this collection of figures really spoke to me for that story. Mostly because of these guys. There's about 12 different skeletons coming up out of the ground, and it's awesome. That's all 75, yes. I found a photo. I should really share it. But I'll show you the church scene, because I reckon the church scene is about 90% finished. So the church scene being finished means, oh, I've just got to figure everything else out. I reckon that looks pretty good for rusty metal. Like, I've seen worse rusty metal, particularly non-metallic metal. That's the back. I have seen worse. Alright, let's show off the scene. How am I going to do that? I reckon we might come out here, and then we might do a little bit of, that's my pants, that's my crotch. Enjoy a bit of crotch deno. That is a little bit too high, but we should be able to show off the scene with that. baby. That is not even close, Dano. That is an interesting reaction that I will talk about momentarily. How is this diorama? Oh, have I zoomed out? How is this diorama so big? There we go. Yeah, a little bit of crotch view. It's all of my dioramas take up a lot of space, but this one could be a new record. All right, here we go. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Oh, lose control, a body and soul. So what I did was I started putting foliage from Mossy's Moss, and it's really started to bring things alive. However, we are going to need to do some airbrushing. Where is this little guy's hole? There it is. Because as you can see, this guy is not green enough for the story that we're telling. Numero uno. Let's turn that down just a smidge. Alright. And then this chick, who I glued back together, but I'm still a bit gun shy of. Hello, Gaming Gruffy. This chick floats here. She does sit in there a little more properly than that. And then this boy, this big boy, big lad. It's a big lump of a lad. He's sort of, where are you, mate? Can't see his hole. Is that your hole there? Maybe not. There, surely. No. This doesn't happen to me very often, friends. I can usually find the hole. I think I put it further over. I think he's standing on the tree. He is standing on the tree. That's actually pretty fine. There he is. Look at him go. And then this chick who is my least favourite model in the whole collection. Oh. That's true, mate. That is true. This chick sort of stands somewhere up the front here. There she is. Yeah. She is my least favourite model out of this entire figure collection. And there she is. So she is the one standing at the gates, protecting everyone from everything happening. I can't really see the screen, so I apologise, but there you go. That's the story we're telling for the church. So what I really like that's happened is adding this foliage has filled that space a little bit more, and it's helped create a lot less issues that I had with it initially. So. Yeah, I'm really happy that I put that foliage on there because it's helped me feel a lot more finished. Now, we need more. We're going to need to grass all the way to this very edge, and I think what I actually decided I'm going to do, How am I going to do that? Yeah, I need to grass over the top of this. So yeah, we'll do grass here, etc., etc. Yeah, this is actually, like, this guy's supposed to be quite tall, right? But it's not supposed to be a big church. It's just supposed to be a small little out of the way church. A very humble abode, if you will. So, yes. So that scene looks pretty good, I think. Yeah, this little side door's for pets. That's the Ellie size door. It's a dog door. Hello, Sean. Yep. So I got these. This is string, twine, jute twine, and I just use it to make grass. And I spent $300 on a fucking stupid static grass applicator, and in the end, this stuff looks better anyway, I reckon. Like, you just separate it like this, and then you just spin that Bobby Dazzler around like this, give it a little twist, a little twisterino, and there you go. Look at that. You've got some perfectly irregular, natural variation grass that sits perfectly. And there you go. So the only challenge with it is getting the base of it glued. So normally what I do is hold it like this and then pop a bit of super glue there. But I'm running low on accelerant, so that's a tomorrow job. But yeah, I'm just going to pop these little jobbos all over, like so, and then I'll airbrush it with a light green, and then I reckon we're about, yeah, and then this side I'll do the same. Yeah, I reckon we're getting close to this scene, certainly the scenery being finished. Each of these figures still needs work on various elements. The number one thing being green. I need more green reflections in the base, in the armor, in the cloak, in everything. It needs more green. This guy, I figured it out. He's got green, fair bit of green. She's got green. This chick needs more green. So that's the first part of the puzzle, and that's good. Second part of the puzzle is a lot bigger and is a lot less completed. But there is a lot. Is that the right legs? Yeah, surely. And I am contemplating not even including his shield because I think I've done a bad job of the shield. I could always go back and fix the shield, I suppose. Witch Hunter. So yes, it's that's the thing. It feels closer than I realised. Now that I've gotten back into it, I did a lot of great work in the lead up that has helped me when I've sat down to start working on it again. You're a short motherfucker and nobody likes you. Shot. This one, I'm gonna leave her till absolutely dead last. I do not want to paint her. I have no interest in painting her and yet she's like the central component, so I've got to save her till last. Alright, that's done. Good work. And then we've got Necromancer guy. I can move this back in now. It wasn't intended to be directed at you, but that song's been in my head for about 3 days. So I'm sorry. Alright. So there's this guy. Far more progressed than he was last time we painted him. Looks more like a mad dog. Glowing green. Legendary. He's the summoner. He's summoning all of the undead creatures from the depths. Sort of. That's what we did yesterday. How cool is it that we did that yesterday? Sick. I love that model. I knew I was going to have a great time painting that model. And I did. I actually had a wonderful time painting that model. Yeah. So I've now got kind of 4 or 5 skeletons. Just like ticking along. That's so good. Can anyone tell me, without spoiling, has Andor finished yet, Season 2? I'm just about finished Season 1 and very excited to start, but I don't want to start unless it's ready to roll. It's just ready to just inject that shit straight into my veins. There is just no brown that I've found that compares to the Rhinox hide. I've tried. but I feel like Jake Gyllenhaal in Brokeback Mountain. Why can't I quit you? It's a good reference. Good work, mate. I don't know if I ever told this story before on stream, but it's a very funny story in my past. I might have told it, but it's worth telling again. It's very, very funny. So I was friends with a long time. I still am friends, so I don't speak to him as much as I would like to. With a guy by the name of Andrew Galea. Wonderful man, great man. He was big into Warhammer. We were both big into Warhammer. We played a lot of Warhammer tournaments together, and we'd stay at each other's houses during a Warhammer season, and we'd have a great time. Andrew was also in a band, and so one weekend when I was at his house for a tournament, his band was playing, and he knew that I wasn't really big on, going out to see bands or whatever. So he was always just like, just go home, and you can what the FA Cup's on tonight, son. We'll watch the FA Cup tonight. When I get home, it'll just be starting. And I was like, that sounds sick, man. I love the soccer. I do love soccer, but I don't really watch it a lot. But I was like, yeah, we can watch the FA Cup. That'll be awesome. And so he was expecting him to get home about 10, 11, something like that. And so I was just sitting on his couch and I was watching TV. And I was on the channel where the FA Cup was on. And they were in the pre-show. They were just doing, I don't know, some rubbish conversation about teams in the thing, whatever it was, and I was bored out of my brain. I thought this is very, very uninteresting to me, and so I started scrolling channels, and I stumbled upon two super weird movies, and one I didn't look it up because I was like, this is no good. It had Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it, and it was about some uncomfortable stuff, so I won't talk about that one. But I kept flicking into it by accident and watching bits of it. But I flicked into Brokeback Mountain, and it was a movie that I had never watched, never thought I would watch, and had no interest in watching. And yet I found myself absolutely unable to stop watching it. It's a really good movie. I'm sure people that have watched it know that. But it's a really good film. Confronting, but g'day Wes. Yeah, that could actually be it. It was an uncomfortable film. Yeah, it was about his baseball coach. So I'm sure if I'm right that you will acknowledge that is the case. Very uncomfortable film. Anyway, maybe. No, I'm going to look it up now. Anyway, so I'm sitting there watching Brokeback Mountain. I'm absolutely eyes glued to the screen. I don't even hear Andrew come home. No, that's not it. Let me have a look at the. Let me have a look at his filmography. So Andrew walks in and he's standing there. He's looking at me while I'm just watching Brokeback Mountain, and there's Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal making out, and he's just looking at me like, "What are you watching?" Expecting me to watch the. And at the time I was obviously still. Oh yeah, mate, I'm a cool guy. I was just flicking channels while I was waiting for you to come home. Oh yeah, let's get the FA Cup on. I can't wait. And I turned the FA Cup on, and it was 20 minutes left in the game. And yeah. The film is called Mysterious Skin. Also a good film. Sort of. I wouldn't recommend it. I would not recommend watching it. No. So yes, for a long time then I was nicknamed Breakback by the gaming group with which I was associated with at the time. That stuck for a number of years. And I'd be quite happy with that nickname nowadays if someone decided to start calling me it again. So feel free. But it's actually good. Like, it won an Oscar, I think. Breakback. It was a very good movie. We used to have some good times with those Warhammer. No, I have not. So a couple of years later, I attended an event called Convic. Hello, Cujo. And at that Convic, I received an award for Sexiest General. I still have the trophy, which was adjudged by the wife of one of the organisers, and it was something that I was able to lead into for a long time. I was quite attractive in my younger days, and but that, at the same time they had organised an award for me, which was the Brokeback Mountain Award, and they presented me with a VHS copy of Brokeback. So I got 2 awards that weekend. One was for Sexiest General, one was for the Brokeback Mountain Award. Oh, that was good. That was good times. Yeah, it's a shame I don't speak to or see those guys anymore, really, that I used to be so heavily involved with during my Warhammer days. But some people come into your life for a reason, some people come into your life for a season. Always heard that quote and thought it was quite a good one. But the older I've gotten, the more I realise that there's some that don't fall into either of those categories. It is, Wes, yes, it is indeed. We're back on the diorama train right now. We're doing some skeletons that are going to be rising up out of the ground. The diorama is going to be epic. And I'm going to try and knock it over in the next probably 3 to 4 weeks. Hello, Space Toy. It is good evening for me, mate. But good morning to you. I did play some Spirit Island. What a devastating turn of events, eh? The tariffs have been rolled back now, mostly, still at 30%. But yeah, it's absolutely crushed some board games companies, which is a real shame. I don't like often getting into politics on the stream, unless it's tangentially related to one of the main thrusts of what I talk about on stream, which is board games and social media and stuff. But the tariffs were really impactful for the board game industry. Some publishers had games on the water coming over that were then informed whilst they were on their way, oh, by the way, when these land, they're going to cost you 145% more. That's it. Like, that is outrageous. That is absolutely outrageous that happened. That should not have been allowed to happen. But it was. It did. Yes, the app. I still have my subscription to the app. And I still play it. Travel a bit for work, so usually get to run on the plane. Most plane trips, I'll play a Spirit Island session or two, which is nice. Well, you can't. That's the thing. You can't ship it back, or it'll cost you to ship it back. So it just either sits in a warehouse or it gets chucked, and that's it. Those are your choices. There literally some games companies were faced with that and found themselves with no option and no finances, and that was it. Went under. Most of the bigger companies were able to wait it out. Just a timing piece for most. The old autofocus is having a bit of a struggle. I am turning it around a lot. Yeah. I mean, let's be realistic now. Even 30%, which is what it's gone up to now, is still probably enough to wipe some companies' margins. Like, there's not a lot of margin in the old board game space. So just enjoy the last X amount of years of your life manufacturing a game that, you know, is a passion and something that you love. Enjoy doing that for absolutely nothing. Crazy. That's a good start, Wes. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, mate, I tell you what, I could not have predicted the last 12 months of my life. I could not. There would have been 0% chance. I was made redundant from my position that I'd been at for 20 years. Somehow, within 4 weeks of finding out, I'd secured another job that I was able to walk into a week later. That has proved to be incredibly similar to my job that I was at for 20 years, and so I've been able to be quite effective, and I passed my probations a few weeks ago, so I've been there nearly 7 months now, and I'm absolutely loving it. My girlfriend, coincidentally around that same time, moved in with me and didn't enjoy living at the house that I'd lived at for the past 10 years of my life. And so we decided that we would look for a place to live. And we ended up finding a house that we bought. And we moved in three weeks ago when we got the keys. And so now I'm living in a new house with a new job, with a new dog, and in a gigantic room that I have all for my toys. And so yeah, I would not have predicted this situation for where I'm at. It was a very fortunate. I feel every day I wake up at this job that I'm at now, and I feel really fortunate. I feel like the universe has given me a little pat on the shoulder and said, "Deno, you're an all right bloke." And I said, "Thank you, universe. I appreciate your sentiment." Molly House was on my radar for a bit. I was looking into it. I have not played it as yet. I had a couple of games from Cole Worley that I bought and we played or tried, and what we ended up deciding was, would we ever play this over Root? And in the end, the answer was generally no, and so I just kept Root. But Molly House seems really interesting. Interesting theme. Some of the games that I thought I would dislike the most have been ones that I've really loved. The theme's been really good. Yeah, I'm not loving cohabitation, just between us. Don't tell Mossy. It's fine. I just have a lot of things that I like to do with my time. She has a lot of things that she likes to do with my time. Yep, that's the end story we come back with is, would I rather play this or Root? Because we bought Oath, and I really thought Oath was incredible. And we bought Arcs. I thought Arcs was really incredible. And then we just asked that question, well, if you had a choice, would you play this or Root? And all of us were like, I play Root. So I kept Root. Played Underwater Cities recently for the first time. Great game. Yeah, I do think Arcs is good. It wasn't. Arcs probably didn't land super well for us, and that's entirely my fault. Because we played one regular game, and that was awesome. And we all enjoyed it. And then we played a campaign game next. That was our next game that we played. And the campaign game nearly broke a couple of us. It was such a departure from the core game that it felt like a completely new game. It felt like Root learning the factions all over again, but even harder. So that was where we stalled. John Company, we bought it. I played a half of a game of solo. Thought to myself, this is not a solo game, this is a group game. And then we just never got around to playing it. Every time it sort of got tossed up, it didn't really feel like that. And so it ended up getting moved on. It was never going to get played. Garden Rooms Paint Studio sounds nice though. Space Toy, that sounds lovely. I wouldn't mind that. This was actually a caveat of me buying this house, or buying a house in general, was there needed to be a room for the toys. So there's a room for the toys. I think John Company would have worked for us. I think we would have really enjoyed it. We've got a great game group. I've got 5 of us that play every Tuesday. Probably every second week someone's away, so we're usually more 4, but most of the time we'll have 5. And we're all very different. All very different players. A couple of us really love Euros. A couple of us really love crap games. Some of us love area control. But we've got one guy who just is an agent of chaos. It doesn't really matter what happens in the game. He'll just reach a point where he's kind of like, I'm just going to do some crazy shit now. And it sounds like that would be annoying. But it's actually awesome. Because it just adds this level of randomness that's hard to beat. Let me explain. So part of my role with my previous company was closing stores and making people jobless, and that was less fun than it sounds. But throughout that period of time, I was introduced to people that were taking the sites, and I was chatting with them and talking about their business and what they did, and I was able to build some connections there. And I did probably 2 or 3 sites for these people, and they sort of said to me at the time, we're always looking for good people, so if there's a time you're looking, give us a call. And back then I sort of thought to myself, I'm going to be in this company, they're going to find a way to keep me. I've been here 20 years. Didn't happen. And so when I got that phone call, I was feeling pretty down. And so I started applying for jobs pretty much that night. But the first thing I did before I started applying for jobs was call one of those contacts that I'd made and say, hey, just wanted to let you know I've just found I've been made redundant. Would love to speak to you more about opportunities. He got my resume from me 2 days later and put it in front of the desk of my soon-to-be new boss. And I was able to interview well. I did two interviews. And it was just, my experience and my stuff aligned really well with the role. But I had to do psychometric testing. I haven't done psychometric testing for a long time. And I'm sure it surprises no one that I absolutely crushed the psychometric testing. There was a maths component, and most people don't finish the maths component. You're not allowed to use a calculator. You have to do it all by pen and paper. And so that there was like 30 maths questions, and you had 45 minutes. And she's like, if you don't finish, because it's done on video and they watch you the whole time. If you are unable to finish this, don't worry. Just work through them as best you can. And it took me 45 minutes, pretty much on the dot, but I answered all 30 questions, and she was absolutely shocked. So, and then the other one was words and spatial stuff, both of which I'm also exceptional at. So yeah, I got through and I was offered the role, and it ended up being an increase in salary, and it almost made me feel like it all worked out for the best. So yeah, feel very fortunate. There wasn't quadratics, although I did do Maths B and Maths C, which in Australia is like the two highest levels of maths, physics at school. So my maths is rock solid. I actually find maths to be very, very easy. I can do a lot of complex stuff in my melon pretty quickly. So, yeah. And I learned about my personality type, all sorts of other stuff. But yeah, it's been a hectic ride. I'm just sort of now starting to feel settled in the new company, starting to feel like I'm contributing and adding some value. Absolutely spot on, Cooch. Absolutely spot on. The architect. Quite an uncommon one, apparently. 3% of the population. Is it that obvious? Or is it just something that you are also familiar with? Doesn't surprise me, Cooch. Yeah, it was a weird one. Like, when was the last time you needed a calculator? Like, you couldn't use a calculator in life? The answer is never. You can always use a calculator. And it's one of the things that sort of frustrates me about exams and testing and stuff. What does that actually exhibit? Exhibits that you have an ability that is not useful in day-to-day life. Okay? What would be more useful is knowing how to find the information. Unfortunately, Google's ruined that for many of us, because that's just the solution now, isn't it? I'll Google that. That'll solve the problem. But yeah, it was a good exercise. I enjoyed it. Made me feel very superior, which is definitely something we don't need. Have enough ego right now as it is. Alright. Good job. We have 3 little skeletons that are in varying states of painting, but all feel pretty good. That one has some snakebite leather in the armour. Maybe I need to airbrush. Maybe I need to do a bit of airbrushing of some snakebite leather, perhaps. yeah, I think it's really important. When you're at just as an example, when you're at a shops and you pay for something in cash, whoever pays in cash, right? So it's probably a bad example, but calculating change, I would often tell cashiers how much change they had to give me because they were taking too long to work it out. But yeah, we just tap and go now. It's funny how different life is from when I was at school, when I was growing up. I haven't really talked about this much. My sister's actually doing this thing called unschooling, which my parents and I have talked about at length, and I'm not sure if we agree with it or not, but the older I get, the more it seems like it's maybe not a terrible thing, but thank you, Wes. The basic premise is that traditional schooling that most of us, I assume, went through, by the time my nieces and nephews get older, will no longer be relevant. Robotics is going to replace the majority of jobs that would require those labour and knowledge skills. And so their premise is that the skills that they need to succeed in life are more social and creative now, rather than the ability to follow a timesheet and things. And so they don't go to school. They don't homeschool. They don't have a curriculum at all. They just do activities with other unschooling kids, where they go out. They do fates, right? So they make stuff and they sell them to each other. So they're learning about currency and real life situations. It's an interesting concept. Unfortunately, the only way we're going to know if it was the right call is in the future, if they're all destitute and living at home. But I think it's unlikely. They're really good kids. They read a lot, like they're constantly reading, almost as much as I used to read, and that to me is a really good sign, because if they can read as much as they are, that probably means they can pick up information really well. Maths isn't their strong suit. This is why I got to this point, because maths, they're not very good at maths. They don't need to. Just use calculators or the internet. It's just crazy. It's a different world. Anyway, that was a wild tangent from me. Diorama's on, baby. Woo! So I've got one more skeleton to paint, which is this guy. So I'll try and knock him over tomorrow. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 figures left to go to paint. I really need to spend some time doing the base of the big scene. Yeah. And my sister said something to me that sat me back on my heels when I was talking about this, that I thought, maybe. Is there any teacher that is going to care about my kids' well-being as much as I do? And I thought, no, absolutely not. And so my sister is there with them every day. She gives them affection, she gives them kindness. My mum and dad think this has to do with my sister being bullied a little bit when she was younger. Maybe, we're not sure. But maybe she didn't want to put her kids through what she went through. Hard to argue. I think most of us experience bullying at some point. I didn't experience a lot because I was bigger than most kids, but I still got bullied for being a nerd. But most of the time I was just sort of left alone, and by extension my friend group was mostly left alone because I was the biggest kid in school. There was one kid who was as big as me. His name was Neville. Can't remember his last name. He was a nice guy. Yeah, so anyway, my sister has made her decision, and she has 3 energetic, creative, expressive kids that love reading and spend time with their family, and they're genuinely good kids. So we'll see. Hopefully it all pans out for the best. It was not Neville Longbottom, no. Alright friends, that's it. We're gonna disappear. So I'll be back again on Sunday, and we'll see how the diorama's progressing. But we could have some headway. Let's fingers crossed. Yeah, good observation, Cooch. I think bullying and like a lot of it comes back to animal behaviours, right? You know, you have people that pick on the younger ones so that you can kind of have an understanding of the pecking order. And yeah, by extension, you know, you learn how to stand up for yourself, as you said, and how to stand your ground. But it does have some negative effects if it's bad. So yeah, anyway. Alright, I'm going. Good night. I'm going to watch some Andor. I'll catch you all next week. Peace out.